Welcome back to Just Scrap Radio on bjpen.com. I'm your host, Cole Shelton, episode 47, ahead of UFC Vegas 34. We got a jam-packed show for you all. We're first joined by Brandon Royval to preview his fight against Alexander Pantoja. This is a big fight for the flyweight division. Pantoja has 2 wins over Brandon Moreno. One was on top, so it does count on the pro record, but Royval's coming off the loss to Moreno in a fight that he dislocated his shoulder in at the end of the first round, which is why the fight got stopped. But really big fight. Royval gets – this is a guy that he says he thinks is the most dangerous guy in the flyweight division. That's what he called him in the interview. So he's really looking for this fight. He knows winner of Pantoja puts him right in there to get a rematch with Moreno, which he thinks would be a fight a lot of fans want to see, especially just because there's no clear-cut answer of how their fight went. We're then going to be joined by Chase Sherman to preview his fight against Parker Porter. Something Chase revealed in the interview, which was really interesting, is he tore his ACL literally seconds before he walked against Andre Arlovski. He threw a kick in warm-up, and his knee just popped. And his whole mindset, he said, that's something he's worked on the past couple months. It wasn't a full torn ACL. It was just partial, which is why he's able to return so soon. Just a small surgery he said he needed. But something that changed was his mindset, where he says he went into that fight in the locker room saying, I'm going to kill Andre Arlovski. Right when that happened, his whole mindset changed to, I just need to survive and don't get embarrassed. He said that's something he's worked on. He thinks that's a fight he still should have won, even with the injury. But he's changed camps to Sanford, gave us a crib-style thing, which Sanford, if no one's ever seen it, very nice-looking gym. But we're then going to be joined by Brian Kelleher to preview his fight against Domingo Pilarte. Kind of a weird one. Kelleher's been fighting up at 45. He's been fighting well-known guys like Ricky Simone, Cody Stamen, Hunter Azure, Ode Osborne as of late. Like he's fought John Lineker, but him and Domingo were supposed to fight years ago at UFC 230. The fight fell apart, so we just thought it was always inevitable that it was going to happen, and now it does here. And after that, we're going to be joined by Vinc Pichel to preview his fight against Austin Hubbard. This is an interesting one. Vince actually changed camps, went to Factory X, so he kind of talked about what kind of caused that change, and him just still not being too active. He's about a 1 fight a year, maybe 2 fights a year kind of guy. This is his first fight in 2021, first fight in about a year. He last fought Jim Miller, where he beat him on the DC Stipe 3 card. So been a while for Vinc Pichel, but he says the training at Factory X has really helped him. And we close things out talking to Ramiz Brahimaj about his fight against Sasha Palkov. Of course, Ramiz UFC debut. It's that he loses to TKO to Max Griffin in a fight that his ear normally almost fell off. You kind of talked about that going viral for that. Now he's kind of just looking to right his wrongs and really showcase that he's a true UFC welterweight contender with this one, and go there, have good performance, and be pretty active, and you just start reminding people that he's here and he's not just the guy that his ear almost fell off. But really good chat with Ramiz. But I appreciate you all listening. Be sure to share the show, subscribe, and again, thank you all for listening. All right, we're joined by UFC flyweight Brandon Royval, who's back in action here in August. Brandon, how's it going?
Good, man. How you been?
I'm doing well. Obviously, we haven't seen you in a while. Ever since November, though, you just had a hectic 2020. Like, looking back now, like, what was that year like for you? Like, you weren't even in the UFC, and you ended the year fighting in a title eliminator fight.
I know. Someone was telling me that, like, how motivating was like Brandon Moreno's performance and all that stuff. And I was like, last year I was working a fucking full-time job, working overnight, sleeping 3 hours to get this thing. It's like, it's not like that. I mean, it's cool seeing him do that and see how close I am. But that being said, I don't know, man. I had a crazy year and a crazy welcome to the UFC. But that being said, is for this and this fight included, is just showing is that I've been a UFC caliber opponent. I've been a UFC caliber fighter for years, and I think I fought the whole entire first season of the flyweight ultimate so far, and continuing to do that. And I would have beat a lot of those guys when I was 21 or 22 or whatever the age was of when they first came out. I was ready to be there then. I just didn't have the opportunity some of these guys had. I went years without fights, and a lot of my fights are at 45 and 35 because I had no fights or opportunities at 25. So, like I said, I think that all that shows is that I should have been making this money. I should have been one of the top dogs at flyweight, and I've been one of the best around for a long time. So I'm comfortable with mine.
In the Moreno fight, your shoulder obviously popped out. I know Mark Montoya popped it back in. Like, did you need surgery, or is it all rehab? And is it like all 100% good now?
I 100% needed surgery. I got surgery, got reconstructive surgery done, and yeah, I needed that. So I was really happy I got that done. And as you seen in the Moreno fight, that shoulder came out doing nothing. I went like this, and when I missed, it went out forward. That's what the doctor's trying to explain, is that it went out forward like that. And that's where the issues were. And for it to come out something so minor just shows how bad I needed that surgery before. And then to see Mark Montoya push a doctor out of the way and then pop it in like a goddamn professional, it just shows that I was struggling for a minute. So I'm glad I can get that done. And Moreno fought Figgy, and then they had this amazing fight. And I think everything that worked out the best for the flyweight division and for everything. I think I needed the surgery done, and that fight needed to happen, man. Moreno became a superstar, and he's what the flyweight division kind of needed in the long run. So it's awesome.
Did you know your shoulder was like already injured going into that fight, or like was that something that you figured out afterwards?
For me, this is going to be the first time I ever had like a training camp in the UFC so far. I've been hurt for a minute. I've been battling some injuries, battling some shit, and kind of just getting by on cardio and just old skills. You know what I'm saying? Which goes to further my point on I've been a UFC caliber opponent for a long time. I've been fighting the top 10 in the world without any training camps, without anything, and one hand virtually. So the fact that I can go in there and get this done and also make a name for myself and not lose stock is a blessing, man. It really is.
Alexander Pantoja, like I thought this was kind of the fight to make. Like, were you surprised, or did you kind of think this was going to be your opponent?
Yeah. Well, I like for me, like I didn't want to take any steps back, and like if I didn't want to take any steps back, it's either Alexander Pantoja or Askar Askarov, and I think Alexander Pantoja is the more dangerous opponent. And that being said, is like Askar Askarov, I know won his fight between them, but Askar Askarov doesn't scare me. You know, there's no like if I fought Askar Askarov, it's not like I'm worried about getting knocked out or finished. I'm worried about getting wrestle fucked for 15 minutes. But Pantoja, I think's besides me, I think's the second scariest flyweight in the division. I have me and him both have a finisher's mentality. He has a lot of finishes. He tries to knock motherfuckers dead, and he goes for submissions. And as far as that'll get you out of bed every fucking time. That motivates me. And that being said, is I think this is the hardest flyweight fight that there is, and I think we're the two scariest flyweight fighters there is right now.
Yeah, it's you look at the people that have beat Pantoja. It's Askarov, Figueiredo, and then Dustin Ortiz. But I think if they were to fight again, I think Pantoja would win that one. And this is a guy that beat Brandon Moreno twice. Like he is. Like, do you think a win here kind of it gets you that title shot? Because anyone that beats Pantoja kind of is either as a former champion or fought for the belt.
Yeah. So for me, it's not that I think that it gets me a title shot. I think what happens with the Askar Askarov Perez fight kind of depends. Because it makes sense. Askar Askarov like 12-1 or so, like 12-1 or whatever 12-0-1 or whatever the fuck we're trying to pretend that Brandon Moreno didn't beat him. But it's just those things that it's like if I go out there and I finish if I go out there and I finish Pantoja, then it's like I don't think anybody's that excited about seeing Askar Askarov fight at all. Like I don't think maybe a couple of Russians want to see him wrestle and stuff, but as far as that goes, I think everybody wants to see me and Brandon Moreno fight again. That's the fucking fight to make. If they're not gonna make Figgy and Brandon Moreno, or if they're not doing any of that, then give me Brandon Moreno. That's the fire fight. That's what everybody wants to see. And like, there's unfinished business there. Like, I wasn't getting my ass whooped. Like, it was a close first round. I would give him the edge for sure because he had a lot of back control. But that being said, I wasn't out of that fight, and I ended that when my shoulder popped out on top of the scramble. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a lot of unfinished business there. But that being said, I have the hardest fight in the flyweight division in front of me, and that's priority. And to me, if I fly past Pantoja, that's the hardest fight I'm going to have, and I think Moreno would make sense after that, and especially if I get a finish and finish him impressively.
Something that kind of stood out to me is I'm going back to our past conversations. Like I remember you saying this, but it just kind of clicked again. Is you've never had a full training camp. Like all your fights, I remember, have been 2-3 weeks notice. So what's it like to actually have a couple months to prepare?
Just to add this on, but I've been training for a minute. So I got surgery on January 7th, and it's a 6-month recovery. So the doctor approved me like maybe a couple weeks ago. Like I've barely been approved to start training, man. But that being said, I don't take a step back. I find ways to get better while I was injured the whole entire time, and we were working the whole entire time. So it's not like I ever lost any skill. It's just I had to improve differently and how to add different skills and all that to my game. But that being said, is like you think about the Kai Car France fight. I was hurt that whole entire training camp. I took the Tim Elliott fight in a week notice, and then that Brandon Moreno fight is I got back from Abu Dhabi and fought 2 weeks later. You know what I'm saying? Because I was in Abu Dhabi for like a month after my fight, cornering all my teammates. So it's like I fought all the top 10 fighters in the world without a training camp at all, and I'm showing my worth, and I'm proving that I'm out there to go to go make a statement. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking for the finishes, and I'm doing what I need to do as a fighter. As long as like, as far as like me as a fan, that's what I want to see. I want to see a fighter that goes out there and finishes, not trying to win these rounds and get away with decisions and shit. I want to see a motherfucker that, I don't know, just finishes or like finishes people and look for a finish and just trying to be a killer. You know, I'm not looking for anybody trying to edge out rounds over here. So,
do you think people are starting to fully realize how good you are? Do you think there's still a lot of people overlooking you?
yeah, I mean, I have a lot of losses, but that being said, I have a lot of losses just being wrestled and nullified. It's not like I was ever in any danger. I think the only finish that I've ever had was that Brandon Moreno when I dislocated my shoulder. But other than that, like, I don't know, man. It is what it is. Like I said, to me, it just shows that people can nullify me. You can last 15 minutes, but you're never gonna fucking finish me. And the only person that I think that even has that mentality that I do is Alejandro Pantoja, and that's why it's gonna be a great fight. You know.
Is there kind of pressure for you to go out there and finish Pantoja? Because I think if you finish him, no matter what happens in the Askar Perez fight, I think you could put a real good case that you get the next shot.
Absolutely, and I'm putting that pressure on myself. I don't want anything but a finish out there. I'm not trying to go and win these decisions and have these questions in my head that I'm like, fuck, well, if it was a fight to the death, would I have won or would I have lost? I'm not trying to have those questions put there. I want to go out there and I want to.
I lost your sound there for a bit.
Here, give me one. Sorry about that. Do you have me yet?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay, let me turn this shit off. All right, cool. All right, but yeah, to me, it's just I gotta go in there and make a statement. I want to finish him just because that's who I am, and but that being said, I think a finish over Pantoja says it all, man. I think a finish over that guy just shows that I'm the deadliest flyweight fighter there is right now.
What's kind of training been like? Because whenever I talk to like Alexander Hernandez, he always brings you up as someone that he likes to work with quite a bit. Like Mark Montoya, one of the smartest like minds in the game. Like what's kind of being like there and having like being there now in this UFC and not having to worry about a job either. Like you're full time there.
Yeah. So for me, like the only thing that's changed as far as not having a job is I just get to sleep. I was always training. I never took time away from the gym. I sacrificed sleep, and that's really all that there was to it. So I don't know. My sleep schedule's really fucked up, honestly. Like I can hardly stay sleeping 4 hours, but I spent years working that shift trying to make it to the UFC, man. So I'm glad the sacrifice paid off. But I'm 5'9". I'm 5'9", I'm 5'9". I'm tall, flyweight. So I get to work with 155ers, 145ers. For the most part, I'm working with guys upper weight class. So that being said, I do get to work with Alex Hernandez. I do get to work with Youssef Salal and like all the 35ers. We have such a stacked room with 35ers and 45ers. And we have like a lot of 55ers now too, which is crazy. But yeah, I get to work with all of them, and I look for the harder rounds. And that being said, as it goes upper weight classes is where I'm going to get a little bit more struggle and all that stuff. And I think for right now, I'm one of the more veteran flyweight fighters. Most of our flyweights are coming up, like 1-0 pros and about to make their pro debuts and all that stuff. And so for the most part, I get in with a lot of the 35ers, 45ers, and 55ers. So I'm blessed in that way. And I think as a flyweight, I think that's how you get good is you challenge yourself against the bigger guys, and that means the technical aspect part of it needs to come out in you and all that. And like I said, I'm long enough where I'm still a good look for a lot of these guys too.
You get your hand raised here. Like, have you thought of the kind of next steps? Because it's kind of a logjam up at the top flyweight. Like, would you be opposed to taking another fight? Are you going to kind of hold out for that title shot?
I mean, I definitely just want to take whatever's going to get me there, man. I've been nullified for the last like 8 months, 9 months. So the if I can go in and just get anybody, like go walk through Pantoja, I would love Figgy, or I would like Moreno next. That's my two matchups I want. I think would be the best one for me, and the best for the flyweight division too, man. I think those are the coolest fights to make. I think those are the best fights to make, and I think those are going to be what elevates the flyweight division and also gets my name out there. I'm trying to make names off these guys. I have a lot of catching up to do, man. I've only been in the UFC for a year, so it's like I'm trying to make a career out of this. I'm trying to get in and get out, man. I've been doing this sport for a long time. I'm not looking to do this for the next 10 years for sure. So I want to get in and make a name for myself and get the fuck out of there with all my brain cells intact.
Well, what do you make of the state of the flyweight division right now? Because obviously you have Moreno, who's become this like big star to come in camp. Like the Figueiredo Askar's there, like Cody Garbrandt's dropping down. Like I know he's has a fight coming up soon in flyweight. So like, what's your kind of thoughts on the whole flyweight division?
Wait, Cody Garbrandt has a fight at flyweight? What did I miss out on?
Well, I'll tell you after. It's not like officially done.
Dang, man. All right, cool. Yeah, well, I want that matchup too then. Well, we'll throw that Cody Garbrandt out in that name of bags that I want as far as future matchups that I think elevate the flyweight division and get my name out there. But I think it's exciting. I think it's as good as it's ever been. The flyweight division, I mean, like I looked up to a lot of the older flyweights that were like the division before, and it's like hard to think that we've caught up to them or I'm better than like Mighty Mouse or a John Dotson, for example. Like those two guys are like, to me, are like the elite of the elite and as great as the flyweights are going to be. But that being said, is I think we have the Mick Maynard's done a great job at drafting like the most exciting finishing flyweights there are. You know what I'm saying? And to elevate the division, I think that the flyweights are always the show to watch. I think we're all we're fighting for our job in there for the most part. So I think anytime there's a flyweight fight in the men's division, these guys are bringing it. So I just want to be a part of that. And I'm glad I'm one of the more exciting fighters in the division full of exciting fighters right now.
A bit disappointed you're just on a fight night card and not in front of the fans on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed with that. Actually, I want to be like, I don't give a shit. Like as far as of right now, I think I'm the co-main event, and it's like, I don't want that, man. I want to be down on like middle part of a card, and I want to be like, I want to elevate my name. I'm trying to get name. I want to see people watch this fight, and I don't necessarily know how to go about that without being a brash asshole or whatever it is, and that's not really me. So it's just like, I don't know. I needed people to see this fight, and I need to have like a homecoming with this because Alejandro Pantoja is the perfect opponent to have like a great matchup and a great to go make an extra 50 G's, man, honestly, and just make a name off myself and to make a name off him and, just try to elevate my career in general. But it's like, I need eyes on that fucking card bad for that to happen,
All right, well, Brandon, I appreciate the time. Thanks for doing this.
I appreciate you too.
All right, we're joined by UFC heavyweight Chase Sherman, who's back in action here pretty soon. Chase, how's it going, man?
It's going good, man. How you doing? Heading to practice number 2 today. I'm running late as usual.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Obviously, you're just rebooking the Parker Porter fight after you lost to Arlovsky. Like, do you think this was the fight you thought would be next?
That's the one we asked for. Like, just go ahead and give us that fight because that's what we trained with before, and then obviously I felt like I deserved it because I kind of took that Arlovsky fight like on a week's notice. So yeah, and we got the fight, and we got the fight kind of fit in that window that I needed it to happen. So it was good.
What do you take away from your last fight against Arlovsky?
Oh, man, so much happened leading up to that fight. That fight was like a biggest blessing to me at the time, though. I was just kind of devastated by the way the events leading up to that fight transpired. And but now I see like what a blessing it was because, man, I was dealing with injuries the whole time. My coach, talk loud. My coach got COVID. He couldn't come, and then my opponent got changed, and then I was dealing with a knee injury the entire camp, and then 5 minutes before walking out, literally the fight before mine, I had just planted to go take to just throw a kick on the pads, warming up in the back, man, and then popped on my knee, and something just snapped again, and it was stuck. You know what I mean? I couldn't even walk on or extend it, and next thing you know, they come in the back and they're like, "You're up," and I'm like, "What the fuck? What am I gonna do?" You know what I mean? And so at that point, I kind of had convinced myself. My mental state of mind went from I'm gonna run through Andre Arlovsky, I'm gonna destroy this man, to just don't get fucking embarrassed. You know what I mean? Because I literally couldn't even walk, and from that, what I learned was that I'm not as mentally strong as I need to be, and because you go back and watch that fight, and it was a really, really close fight, and I actually almost finished him in the first round.
Mhm.
And so I could sit back and make excuses all day about how I had a torn ligament in my knee, which I did, but we got to be honest with the fact that maybe if I was a little bit more mentally tough, then I could have done what I had to do to get that win. But because of that, I was already convinced myself that I was going to lose the fight because I couldn't even walk. You know what I mean? And so once that had already set in, even though I was winning the fight in the first round going in, it didn't matter. And so from that point on, I had a long road ahead of me. I knew that I was going to have to have surgery, and I was going to be stuck at the house, by myself and having to think about these things. And so at that point, that's when kind of like, a lot of things changed in my life. And I started going down the path of, getting my mental right and just having, you know, more mental clarity, being more, um, you know, conscious and mindful about who I am. And then just, started doing all these things to get uh, everything going up here, like, meditating and reading and writing and doing all things that, keep you strong and mentally healthy and out of your own and keep you out of your own way, because it's such a mental game, man. It really is. It's more mental than anything. It's always you versus you. And that's been my biggest problem in my career is what's going on upstairs, because I mean, you look at the heavyweight division, man, and you can't really tell. There's maybe a few guys that are, you know what I mean, as athletic as I am and have all the gifts, the natural gifts that they need, and I've been in the game long enough now to where I have the fight IQ as well to go along with it. So what's been kind of adhering me from reaching the top of the top, you know what I mean, the cream of the crop. And really, it's not because I'm not big enough. It's not because I'm not fast enough. It's not because I'm not athletic enough or smart enough or whatever the case may be. It's just it was here. It was all here. And so that's one thing I've been working on a lot. And I don't think I would have gotten. I don't think I would have done what I needed to do if it wasn't for all the things that transpired in that Arlovsky fight.
What was the full extent? Like, did you have to get surgery then for your knee?
Yeah. I had what they call a bucket handle tear in my meniscus, which is the worst tear you can get. It's a complete tear all the way through. And so what happens with that meniscus is it sits in between your tibia and your fibula, or your tib and your femur. And when your knee bends, and that tendon's torn, it'll flap over and get caught. And that's what happened before the fight. It got caught. My knee popped and I got caught. And so the ligament in my knee was literally stuck between my femur and my shin bone. And then I also had 25% of my ACL was torn. And then I had some floating cartilage behind my patella, which is a kneecap. And so the doctor was like, "You shouldn't have even been walking, much less fighting." But what you gonna do? You know what I mean? You can't just be like, "Hey, I know I'm like up next, but I can't fight." You know what I mean? They already had a fight pull out, and I got bumped up to the co-main event, and it just is what it is. So it's a blessing in disguise, really.
You like 4 months after, like, is it already fully healed then? Because that's a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, we just had a meniscectomy, so you don't technically need your meniscus. Your meniscus doesn't affect your stability like your MCL, your ACL, and all that does. But what it does do is it affects your mobility and your range of motion in that knee, and it's just fucking extremely painful. So, how do you have surgery? Because like I said, it was if it had been just like a partial tear, then maybe a little bit different, but it was a complete tear. So they went ahead and removed that. And so we had like a 6-week turnaround, and just getting back in the gym and how to start building up all the atrophy that had occurred. And because I lost 25% of my quad prior to the fight just because we were dealing with that injury. And so, everything happens for a reason, man.
I see the Sanford logo back there. Are you out in Florida there?
Yeah, man. I switched gyms. Isn't this gym freaking amazing, huh?
Yeah, that looks nice.
Oh yeah, look at this. We got look. Let me show you. And you're in South Florida, man. Beautiful, right by the beach. Look, we got a barber shop in our gym. Comes in
Look at
on
all the
Tuesdays and
fur.
cuts our hair lounge. Look, yeah. See that? And then look at this. Hold on. Let me. How do I switch the camera? Can I do it? Switch the view?
On your phone, you should be able to just click the camera. If not, you can just turn your phone around. Oh,
Oh, there you go. Look at this.
that's massive.
Yeah. Isn't that nice?
That's one of the nicest gyms I've seen.
It's crazy, bro. This gym is immaculate. I mean, you got everything you need. So we go in here. Look, I'll show you. It's like an episode of MTV
Yeah.
Cribs. Look, this is the PT room. So they've been like getting me all healed up in here. You see, and then come back here. What's up, Joe? That's Joe. That's one of the therapists. We got like an episode going on right now. And then come in here in the recovery room. And so, I mean, you got like everything you could think of, man. It's here at our disposal. So it's nice, man. It's real nice.
Onto your fight, like you've already prepared for Parker Porter 1. So like, what is kind of training camp? Is it just more fine tuning things you already worked on?
Well, I'm in a different camp now, so like different strategies come with the, you know what I mean? You have different coaches, and it's just, but I mean, for me, the game plan is still kind of the same. I mean, it doesn't change in that sense, but the coaches here really kind of like, they understand that we're professional athletes, and so they expect to do what we need to do to make sure we help us, like you said, fine tune that. Doing a gameplay, you know what I mean? Here, because they have something to work with. But yeah, so we're actually about to get started here in a little bit.
Just a few more questions. Then,
Yeah.
how do you see the fight playing out? Yeah.
What are you saying?
Just a few more things. How do you
say?
see this fight playing out?
With my hand being raised at the end. That's the only way that it's gonna play out.
If you get your hand raised
to Rodrigo.
If you win here, like, is there anyone you want next?
Yeah, it's Rodrigo. He keeps calling me out. He's been calling me out for a year now. Yeah, he's been. So I don't know really what I ever did to that guy, but if he wants it, he can get it. You know.
Are you kind of expecting to knock out Parker? Because Parker's a guy that's been knocked out before, but he has been a bit more durable lately.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, honestly, I want to win. You know what I mean? I'm not going in there looking for the knockout per se, but I do believe I'm going to finish him. You know what I mean? I do believe that. I mean, I don't know what round, but I do believe I will finish him. I think I have some of the best hands in the heavyweight division. So, yeah. look at the resume, man. So I think 16 wins, 15 of them are by knockout, 14 in the first round. So the resume kind of speaks for itself.
Just last question. You like that Rodrigo fight? Are you hoping you can get it in before the end of the year? Or you probably think it's your last fight of the
Yeah.
year?
No. We're gonna get it in before the end of the year. We're gonna hopefully maybe get on that MSG card in November.
Yeah.
November 6th. That'd be a great date. Right before the
All right.
birthday. I've never fought there, man. I feel I have to make that happen. It has to happen.
All right. Well, Chase, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks for doing this.
All right, brother. See you.
All right, we're joined by UFC bantamweight Brian Kelleher. It was fine. I guess he's dropping back down to bantamweight again. Brian, how's it going?
Good, doing great. Yeah, not looking forward to going back down to 135 again, but I got plenty of time. So,
this is obviously, to me, I didn't think this is going to be your opponent. I know you and Domingo Pilarde were matched up against each other. Are you surprised this is who you were fighting? Because you were supposed to fight him back at UFC 230 in New York.
yeah, it was kind of a little bit of a surprise, but you know what? I'm coming off a loss. The UFC tends to do that. It's like when you come off a loss, they give you someone a little bit lower down the rankings, and it somewhat makes sense because we were matched up in the past, and an injury stopped that and pulled the fight for us. And I think he's been out for a while too. Right now, I think he had an injury as of recent, and so. I like the matchup. I think the UFC likes my style. I think they like me as a fighter, and I think this is a good stylistic matchup for myself.
And how much does it already help that you already kind of had a whole camp to prepare? Is that already kind of thrown out the window because that was like 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even apply that to this camp now. I mean, it was so long ago. I honestly don't even remember exactly what I was doing at that point, but I do. There's specific things about a different style. The guy's a tall southpaw, so a lot of different looks from those angles and different techniques that I could use against that kind of stance.
With Domingo, like, what have you made of his run in the UFC? Like, he's technically 0-1-1, but the no contest he has against Jerry Newson, he got knocked out and it was overturned because of marijuana, which is dumb in its own right. But like, what have you kind of made of his run in the UFC?
He's had a tough run so far, but that just goes to show that, when someone's back's against the wall, that's usually when they come out their best. And that's what I'm expecting in this fight. Just like myself, losing that last fight to Simon kind of puts me in a position where, it's motivating. It's like, man, you don't want to get 2 losses in a row. You want to get yourself right back into where the spot that you were at. And for Domingo, he wants to keep his job in the UFC, I'm sure. So, we're both motivated to get a big W here. And I think, that makes for excitement.
Domingo's a guy too. Like, I don't know how he makes 135. Like, he's a big dude. Like, he's 6 foot. Like, he's like the 74-inch reach advantage. He has like a 10-inch reach advantage on you. It's like, you fought tall guys before, like Montel Jackson, Ode Osborne. It's like, how much are you looking back at those fights to kind of see what went right and what went wrong?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, those are 2 guys, that, I fought that, long guys are not easy guys to fight, but the whole goal is to get inside and just be aggressive, forward pressure, be aggressive, get inside. So I'm at my range, range control is a huge thing in these fights, pace and how the fight starts. But, you look at those other fights, you try to take what you can. And, southpaw stance, Domingo Pilarde is probably less of a wrestler, I would say, than Jackson was, but he has good jiu-jitsu. He has some chokes, and you got to watch out for that with the long limbs. But my plan, is to just fight like me, heavy forward pressure, put the power punches out there and get in his face, make it uncomfortable for him and put that pressure on him. I think watching some of his fights, he doesn't deal with pressure really well. So I think that's a good thing for me.
This is his first fight since February of 2020, so it'll be like about a 1.5 year layoff. Like, but just kind of like 2 parts. Like, how do you kind of train for that? Because you don't really know what he's going to look like after like a 1.5 years off. But like on the flip side, like, how do you think that's going to affect him not being in the cage for a 1.5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really worried about him. That could affect him. It could not. But like you said, you don't know what to expect that long of a layoff. for me, I just look at it as, I don't even pay attention to that stuff. I'm just fighting a motivated guy that's a tall southpaw that, has good striking, good jiu-jitsu, and that's all I really look at. And I just want to go in and implement my skills and kind of impose my will. And that's what I like to focus on in my camps more is what am I going to do rather than what does my opponent do well? Just because when you get in there and fight, man, like, sometimes people do different things that they didn't do in prior fights, and you don't want to be surprised. You want to just be ready for everything. So that's how I approach it.
You're someone throughout your career, like after a loss, like you've rebounded very good. Like a lot of times you finish those opponents. Like what kind of changes for you after a loss? Like, is it just like a mindset thing, or is it just like you know your back's against the wall and you got to go out there and get a win?
Yeah, it's something. It gives me this chip on my shoulder, man, because losing is honestly, it's it's a beautiful thing. In retrospect, you look back, it sucks when it happens, but what you see come of it is a whole different animal. I think it motivates me. It gets me fired up. It makes me feel like, I have so much more potential than I displayed in that fight. And it just makes me want to train harder and really just perform better. I got a cut early on in that fight right here above my eye, and it affected me. I was thrown off. I went into survival mode. I no longer had that killer instinct in me that I usually have, and that was my learning experience from that. To just be unfazed and take a lot from that and bring it into this fight. I'm coming in this fight aggressive, like trying to finish this fight and make a statement. Not for anybody else but myself.
Back at the Apex, like smaller octagon, the no fans, like you've already done it before. So like, do you think that's going to play much of a factor in the fight? Because Domingo's going to be his first time doing it other than the Contender Series.
Yeah, the Contender Series is pretty good experience for it. Pretty quiet, eerie, arena. And there's probably more fans there actually than there is at the Apex. Now they have a little bit of people there, but I think, I'm used to that. I wish I had fans. I miss the fans, and just watching on TV, it really makes me fired up because I feel like I feed off the crowd. But I'm also not one of those guys that like when I fight in the Apex that it affects me in a negative way. I kind of like it takes off the edge. It's kind of like sparring. You're in the gym. I stay calm and I just approach it like any other fight. I mean, you can't let those things affect you because those are things you can't control. So I go in there and I perform whether there's fans or not, but I do miss the fans.
How do you see yourself getting the win? Because you're a guy that when you win, like most of the time it is by stoppage.
Yeah, I'm either TKOing guys or KOing guys or submitting guys. I mean, I'm not much of a decision fighter myself. Every once in a while, it happens when you fight someone that just doesn't go away. But I always see a finish. I always look for the kill. It's just the way that I fight. It's like the way I fight is once I get touched a couple of times in the fight, I come alive. I get more and more aggressive as the fight goes on. And honestly, like most of the time, my third round's my best round. And I just want to put the pressure on and just let go of all my potential. I think sometimes you go in these fights and you leave there and you feel like there's so much more I have in me. And in this fight, my main goal is to leave the cage and feel like I left it all in there.
You get your hand raised here. Like, what do you think a win does for you? Because for me on the outside looking in, like, I think you beat Domingo. I just think you're right back to where you were when you were fighting like Stamen and Simone, like guys like that.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. I think the UFC looks at it the same way. They kind of just want to see, okay, where's this guy at? Let's give him a newer guy that was seeing where he's at as well, because he's not, he doesn't have a lot of wins in the UFC right now. They're trying to figure out like who's here for keeps type of thing. And if I get another win, they know I'm still here. I still belong. And, I lose to a lot of the better guys in the division, tough fights, but I'm willing to fight anybody. And I go in and get a big finish against this guy. I call out a name and the UFC likes that, you have someone in mind and usually you get what you ask for.
Yeah, you're someone that likes to call someone like, so is there already a name in mind, or do you start thinking that more on like fight week of seeing what kind of makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I try to be cerebral about it and have a good plan. It's tough too because you go in the fight, you have adrenaline, and you kind of like forget, what the hell you were thinking of before the fight. But usually, I have a good grip on things after the fight. Like, oh yeah, like I wanted to say this. Of course, I'd want the O'Malley fight. Who doesn't? Everybody in the bantamweight division's calling for that. I feel if he lost that fight, I'd have a better chance at it. I think the UFC is going to try to give him a step up now. But hey, if I go out and I put on a great performance and finish this guy and call out O'Malley and try to fight him at MSG in November, that would be great. I mean, what I'm calling for though, for sure, is to fight in New York and MSG in November. That's like my whole plan, and that's what I hope for.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want to touch on. Like, I know it's not officially announced, but like all signs point to MSG in November. That's everything I've heard. Every fighter's kind of heard that. So the plan then, get a quick finish and turn right around, because I know you're a guy that likes to be active.
Yeah, I'm actually like, I'm upset that I had to wait so long to fight again, to be honest. Like August 21st feels like so far away right now. I'm not a guy that really gets out of camp or goes on vacations and takes time off and then resets. Like I do lower the intensity and I kind of pick it up as I go, but I'm always in the gym. I've been sparring for the last 5-6 weeks, and just in case something came up, and I'm that type of guy. I want to be able to kind of take an opportunity if it presents itself. So yeah, I want to stay active. I fight this fight August 21st. September, October, November, that's kind of realistic. Every 3 months or so we get in there, but I'm always going to be ready for a short notice opportunity if it comes about. Weight wise, I don't know. 45, yes. I'll step right in there on 10 days. Bantamweight, it's getting harder and harder. I'm getting a little bit heavier and heavier as I get older, but I always want to be ready to take a fight.
Do you think you'll ever be like featherweight only, or do you think you're just a bit too small for to be like a true featherweight all the time?
That's the thing. Like my weight wise, I could be a featherweight if I really wanted to, but like frame and reach and size compared to these other featherweights, like I just don't belong there. Bantamweight, even there's some bantamweights that are bigger than me frame wise. So like, I just don't see myself moving up unless I absolutely have to. But I could tell you that doing all the right things for, however long it's been, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, it's still a battle for me to get into striking range to make bantamweight comfortably. So I'm one of those guys that like, I panic about the weight cuts. I don't really like it. I wish we didn't have to deal with that stuff and just fight at our 100% best. But I don't see myself being a 45er.
Just a couple more things. I know when Smolko got out of the O'Malley fight, you and a lot of other bantamweights kind of threw your hat in the ring. Was there ever any were you ever on that? Because he said on his Twitch stream that there was 10 people on a list that the UFC had him. Did you ever get notified that you might be fighting him?
Yeah, it was a weird situation, right? Because I was watching what he was saying, and a lot of what he was saying was like, yeah, I understand a lot of bantamweights are not going to be able to make 135 in 9 days notice, but I want to fight. I'm down to fight at 45 if it presents itself. So I saw that and I'm like, oh, like I'm in for 45, 100%. Like, then I get a text from my manager. He's like, can you make weight for the O'Malley fight? And I'm thinking 45 is fine, So I said, yeah, I can't do 35. I'm 159 pounds, 160 pounds. I could do 45, 100%. And he's like, no, they wanted that bantamweight. So for me, I think what happened was O'Malley said those things, but then told the UFC, I want to stay at bantamweight if possible. And so they went out and seek the best possible opponent for him for bantamweight so that, which I understand. He's at the peak of his camp. He wants to make the weight that he's prepared to make. So I get it. I don't fault him for that. But it's just you say that you're down for this and you mention all these names, but then you're really not trying to do the 45 thing.
But it's crazy how big of a star he is. Because I had some of my friends over at my house to watch the fight. And there's a couple of them that watch most UFC cards, a couple that are bare casuals. They only knew that McGregor was fighting and O'Malley. That's it. I'm I don't even get how O'Malley's already on that level of, oh, they know he's fighting. They were texting, they're oh, it was O'Malley on Connor's card. I want to watch him fight, which is just crazy because he hasn't even really fought anyone in the top 15. He's already that hyped up.
Yeah, man, he has that aura about him. It's a business, and he's got that. He's got a weird. He's a skinny guy. He's got a goofy look to him. He's got a personality. He's got his old podcast and everything. But he has a big following. He has 1 million+ followers, and he's on Twitch. He's gaming. He's interacting with his fans. I think that that helps a lot. And people like to follow. He smokes weed, and people can relate to that, and they follow him and want to see him fight. He's got a good, exciting style. He knocks guys out. So there's a lot to him. And I think all the bantamweights, they understand that. Like, this is, what's the best fight to get in the bantamweight division to build your brand besides winning a title? And that's O'Malley right now. So, everybody's looking for that fight who's not within striking range for a title. So I get it, man. That's just the way it is. Props to him for that. But I'd love to see him really tested, really, really someone who's willing to get in his face and throw enough to gain respect, not just be a zombie like that Mutino guy, who I respect a lot for staying in there, but he just took punishment, the whole entire time.
Do you think that's a fight that will ever happen, you and O'Malley?
I think it's definitely possible. I'm going to keep chirping at the bit because, I want it to stay alive. But I think at this point, I have to win a couple of big fights for it to really happen, because I think that he's in a position to kind of call his shots. I think the UFC works with him directly, and they kind of give him, hey, these are your options. What do you like? What do you want to do? Not everyone gets that treatment, but I think he does. And so he has the, he has the controller in his hand, and he's in control to play the game and pick the character he wants. So I think if I keep chirping, I win a couple big fights, it could happen for sure.
Just last thing, UFC do a lot of breakdowns on your YouTube channel, which is, I think a lot of people need to tune in for those. Like, why'd you kind of start doing that? Because they are very good and technical.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the sport. I love, talking about the fights and watching the fights. I really don't miss any cards. So I figured, why not get on the ball and try to, like in between training too, is like it gets monotonous and you get bored and you're thinking, what can I do in between to pass the time? So that was something I thought of. And I see the media doing it, and I enjoy watching all the media do it. So I was like, why not give the fighter's perspective? Someone who actually goes in there and does it. Why not have my own little thing? I do have to stay more consistent with it, I'll say. I kind of jump in and out and do it when I feel like doing it. But I got to get on it more because, one day fighting's going to be over, and I hope to kind of be able to stay in the sport in some area. And I think that's a good area for me.
Just one other thing. I know you're a big Islanders fan. What do you think of their kind of run in the playoffs?
Man, they always break in our hearts like this, like they get all the way to the end and then something happens. I really thought this was the year, and it would have been amazing if it was, because it was the last year they play at the Coliseum. That place was crazy rocking over there. And I know they're moving to a different arena, so it's like a reset, a whole new vibe. But I was just hoping that they can get it done this year. Tampa, defending Stanley Cup champions, not an easy team to get by. So I thought they played awesome, though. I thought it was exciting. They gave Tampa their hardest series, in my opinion. Tampa kind of ran through Montreal after that. So it was upsetting, but I'm excited to see what next season brings.
I actually think the Islanders have a good shot next year, because obviously Tampa, they're going to lose a lot of players. They're going to take a step back. And out of the East, I think the Islanders are kind of that next best team, where I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the finals next year.
Yeah, me neither. They have a solid foundation right now. They have a really good coach. I think they all kind of know each other now. They're where they need to be a champion team. Just a couple of things here and there. Maybe they lose a player, they gain a player, but I don't think the lineup's going to change too much. So I think they have a good shot.
All right, well, Brian, I appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, we're joined by UFC lightweight Vinc Pichel, who's finally back in action. Vince, how's it going?
What's up, man? I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Obviously, it's been about a year since we last saw you. Like, what kind of was the reason for the long layoff?
Well, a couple things. After my fight with Jim Miller, I had a little bit of a bone bruise in my leg from a couple of kicks that I had thrown. So I was healing from that. And then in November of last year, I had gotten sick with COVID. So that kind of ruined my November. It took me about a month to get a clean test, a negative test, so I can come back to training and be okay. So I did that. I went back to training in December. And in December, when I went back to training, a lot of guys hadn't returned. And they basically told me that we're gonna kind of just wait till this blows over a little bit. And I was like, shit, I can't do that. So I was kind of forced to make a life decision, and I moved myself up here to Denver, Colorado. So I live up in Denver, Colorado now, and I'm training over at Factory X.
Yeah, that's really what I was just about to say. I saw the X. I was wondering if you were out there.
Yeah, so I'm over at Factory X, training over at Mark Montoya and his coaching staff and all the guys here. And it's been a good change for me. I really like it a lot here. it's been a good reinvigoration of me and in fighting. You know what I mean? Because I've been fighting my whole life, right? Professionally since '09, but I feel like I get kind of burnt out on it sometimes. You know what I mean? Just like anyone else does. So being around all these younger guys who are hungry and looking for fights, and you know what I mean, still hungry, kind of reinvigorates me and puts that hunger in me. So it's been nothing but good so far. I love it.
Yeah, because you were out in California, weren't you doing it? Were you still at Big John's for your last fight?
Yeah, I was in California. I was training with my old head coach, Brian Peterson at Peterson's Grapplers. I was training at City of Thong with Walter Wachowski. I was training at Muscle Farm with Jason Manley. I was training at Street Sword with my buddy Drew Sklove. Where else was I training? I was training with my kickboxing coach Pete at his house, or taking him to PG and using the mats there and training. So I was kind of all over the place there. And over here, it's a one-stop shop again, which is where I actually started training as. When I first started training, I started training at Big John McCarthy's, and it was a one-stop shop. It was a big gym like this. It was like 30,000 square feet or something crazy. So it's almost like I'm starting fighting again to me a little bit. You know what I mean? It's I'm falling in love again with it, and it's amazing. I love it.
How much better is training, because you don't have to, especially at Factory X, you don't have to worry about working with any featherweights, lightweights, welterweights. Like, they got a ton of them.
Yeah, there's no shortage of partners here, and I think there's like 20 guys here that are UFC guys, or you know what I mean, the higher echelon guys, and then there's like another 20, 30 guys who are right there at that level. You know what I mean? If not there yet already, you know what I mean? Just haven't had the opportunity yet. So there's a really good team here, a really strong team. The coaching is really good. I really get along well with Mark Montoya. A lot of the stuff that the mindsets, me and him, the mindsets match very well. So it's a good, I don't want to say change of pace, because it's not really a change of pace, but it's a good fit for home for me. It's a good home fit for me.
And then you're to come back against Austin Hubbard. Like, are you surprised that's your opponent, especially after beating Jim Miller? I thought it would have been another well-known name.
No, not really. I mean, like, I'm not one of these. I'm not like these top 10 fighters that are like, oh, I'm not gonna fight you. Who are you? You know what I mean? Like, I'm a fighter. Someone wants to step up, I'm gonna smack it back down. You know what I mean? So that's just how I am. Austin's he's a dangerous guy. He could beat me just like anybody else can. You know what I mean? Is he going to? Am I gonna let him? Fuck no. I'm planning on whooping his ass, right? But it's the fight game, and anything can happen. So I'm not really looking past him. I'm not underestimating him at all. When I go, he's gonna get the same me that anyone else gets. He's gonna get the same me that Jim Miller got. So I'm assuming he's gonna be ready for me. So I'm gonna be ready for him. We'll see how it goes.
How much do you know about him? Because he's a guy out there at Elevation in Denver. So I'm sure probably some of the guys in Factory kind of know of him.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. He actually, I didn't really know who he was at first, and when I found out, I was like, okay, cool, Austin Hubbard. And then when I went to the gym, everyone's like, you're fighting Austin? And I was like, you know him? They're like, he trains at Elevation. He used to train here. So I was like, oh, shit, he used to train here. But, like, I don't know. All that's kind of like, that's like selling circle bullshit to me, right? Like, I don't care about any of that drama or what happened before. Like, I gotta take him out, and he's got to deal with me. So that's the way I look at it.
He's a very durable guy. Like, Marco Madsen, who's a dominant wrestler, couldn't finish him. Like, he did get submitted against Joe Selecki, but other than that, he's been very durable. Like, is this fight you think's probably going to go the distance? He's a tough guy to finish.
I mean, I'm prepared to go the distance, but I'm not going to fight like I want to go the distance. He has fought some pretty decent guys, but I don't think he's fought anyone that can throw bricks like I can. I don't imagine he'd be able to take too many shots from me and keep standing. You know what I mean? I'm not going to wrestle. I'm not going to grapple. I'm not going to give him that easy way out. I'm going to beat his ass. I'm going to make him regret taking the fight, right? He's going to remember fighting me.
He's a guy that's kind of known for his grappling. Like, Joe Selecki just was able to out-grapple him, but do you think this is the fight he's going to try to take you down, try to out-grapple you, similar to Jim Miller, what Jim Miller tried to do?
Oh, maybe, but it's like, if I'm totally honest with myself and everyone, he'll get me down, but he ain't going to keep me down. He's not going to have me in trouble, so I'm not too worried. If he gets me down, like, kudos to him, he's going to get me down, but I'm going to pop right back up. He's not going to keep me down. I'm not going to be any danger on the ground, so I'm not really worried at all. I've grappled with the highest of black belts level in I can hold my own, so I'm not really worried about someone like him. Like, yeah, I can get caught, right? He could have some slick shit that I'm not ready for, I've never seen, but I don't know, man. I don't see him beating me in the grappling exchange either.
How do you see yourself getting your hand raised then?
I'm looking to shut his lights off, honestly. Like, I was already telling Coach, I don't want to fight for 15 minutes this time. I want to get in, beat this dude down, and get my money, get my bonus, and get the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm there to do my job and have a good time afterwards. So that's my plan. Like I said, though, if it goes the full 15 minutes, it goes the full 15 minutes. I'm not worried about it. I'm conditioned for it. I'll be ready for it. But I'm not looking to fight that long. I'm looking to end it pretty quick if I can.
Do you think your pace and like just your forward pressure is gonna kind of put him in some danger? Because you're a guy that you don't take a step back. Like, you're always coming into their face.
Yeah, a little bit. And he's that kind of guy too. So I'm kind of excited to see who steps backwards first. I have a feeling it's going to be him because I have a feeling I'm going to be throwing the heavier of the hands of us too. But and I feel like my striking is going to be a little more wild and elusive than he's going to be able to handle. Right? I don't see him. I don't know. I just feel like I'm a little too much for him everywhere in the skills department. But we'll see, because he's a very hard. He's a forward pressure kind of guy too. He likes to do that. So we'll see. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a phone booth fight, and draw that line. We'll see who crosses it first.
Well, what do you think a win over Austin does for you? Because the lightweight division is so stacked and so deep.
Just another notch under the belt, man. Just another win. Just another one on that left side of my dash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all about collecting the numbers on the left side, not the right side. So that's what I'm looking for.
How much better do you think you're going to be come fight night, just having training at Factory X, like getting all that training win, and especially at one place, especially with Mark Montoya, who comes up with these stellar game plans?
I don't want to say so much that I'm going to be so much better of a fighter. Like, I'm already a very good fighter. I'm an intelligent fighter. I'm a very hard person to deal with in a fight. But I will say that I have been relying a little more on technique than I have just my wild, like, fuck you, here I come attitude. And in this fight, I'm looking to lean more towards that way. I'm looking to just be cockstrong and headbutt that motherfucker if I have to. You know what I mean? Like, I'm coming full force.
If you get your hand raised here, like, are you hoping at least one more, break this streak of just one fight a year?
Well, I don't know. Like, a lot of people say that shit to me. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, you only fight once a year, but in all honesty, I only need to fight once a year. Like, these other guys that fight a lot, I don't know what their deal is, but I fight when I need to. You know what I mean? Like, I love fighting; it's my thing, but it's not something that I want to burn myself out on. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a big part of it. Like, aside from life stuff, I've had a lot of life stuff that's happened that's kind of put me out and postponed me a little bit. But in all reality, I would like to fight twice, maybe 3 times a year. That would be like a good amount for me. So if I can get this fight done and not be injured, I'm looking to fight probably by the end of summer again. I want to fight right back to back right again.
Well, I know too, the one layoff you had was due to the motorcycle accident, so it wasn't like anything you just not wanting to fight.
Yeah, so it's not nothing like me. I don't want to fight. Oh, let me move over. There's jiu-jitsu going on around me. So it's not so much like I don't want to fight as it's like after a fight, life happens, and my life is very hectic, and my life is very unpredictable the way that I live it. So a lot of shit happens, and like I've had injuries that have postponed me. The last thing was just like COVID that postponed me, and then like having to move and you know what I mean, deal with that kind of stuff. But it's just stuff like that. And then what I want to do is I don't want to, like, I'm not the kind of person that's just going to jump into a fight right away if I'm not prepared. I want to be prepared, and you know what I mean? I talk to Shelby, I talk to guys, and I let them know this kind of stuff. So I'm very upfront and honest with them, and they're like, you know what? It's cool. Like, if that's how you want to do it, that's how you want to do it. You know what I mean? It's your career, so you do what you got to do. And so that's pretty cool. Of course, they want me to fight more, and I'd love to fight more. And if I can, I will. But I've just had life stuff that's been kind of like pushing me to this one fight a year and kind of holding me back a little bit. But I'm looking to make a change, and things are looking a lot different than they were back then. So hopefully after this fight, I can get right back at it and start hitting that again.
Back at the Apex, like smaller octagon there, how do you think that's going to play a factor in the fight?
Yeah, no crowd, huh? Is still not going to be a crowd there?
No, probably not. Maybe like a couple like fighters and celebrities.
I don't mind it because then I can hear his corner and I could also hear the other guy squeal when I hit him. So it's not too big of a deal. I kind of enjoy it.
Are you hoping the next fight's back in front of a full capacity crowd for you?
I really want to go back in front of a crowd. I'm excited to have a crowd because that energy is just unmatched. There's no other energy like the crowd's roar and the kind of adrenaline dump or adrenaline spike that can give you is just unmatched, right? It's like doing all the best drugs at the same time and just enjoying yourself, honestly. And like, to me, that is the best drug is that adrenaline that you get from just the energy and the feeling of being in the crowd. But I also don't mind not having a crowd because I feed off my own energy a lot, right? And I'm very good at controlling my own adrenaline. So I'm actually got pretty good at spiking my own adrenaline when I need it.
I still can't believe you're 38. Like, you don't seem like someone that's up there. Like, how much longer do you think you got? Because you seem like a young 38.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think I'm 38 either, and it's kind of funny. I honestly just forgot about my age after a while, and I don't know. A lot of people ask me, and the only thing I can really say is I'm just gonna let my body determine when I need to quit. And as of right now, it doesn't feel like it needs to. My body feels great. When I'm in here training with these guys, all these guys are the team here as a collective whole. The average age of a team member here is 22 or 23, I think. So all these guys are super young. I'm 10 years older than everyone here. I'm 10 years older than the oldest guy that trains here. So it's I'm the old dog, but no one would be able to tell that I'm the old dog in here because of how I am. You know what I mean? But if I'm honest, I got really lucky with my parents and the genes. I just, if this was the movie Twins, I ended up like Arnold Schwarzenegger, man. I got all the good genes from my parents, and I'm very blessed by it. And I take full advantage of it a little too much sometimes, but that's the cornerstone of it. If I'm honest, it's my genes, man. I got super lucky with it. I'm a very lighthearted person. I like to have a lot of fun. I don't like to stress or dwell on shit. You know what I mean? If something pisses me off, I get pissed. I let it pass and then I move on, right? I'm not that kind of person that let shit just kind of dwell me down. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Just last thing, do you not think part of the reason why you can fight longer is because of the layoffs? They kind of are a good thing where you're not taking so much damage on your body through fights that you can go a bit longer.
I mean, I could say yes and no because even though I'm not fighting more than once a year probably right now, I'm in the gym every day.
Yeah.
So the hard part is the gym training. It's not the fight. The fight's actually the easy part for the most part. You just end up banged up a lot after the fight because you're not wearing padding like you do at the gym. So I'm constantly training. So that's not really I don't know. I don't feel like that's really a factor that is going to slow me down because I've had people ask me about ring rust and whatnot too, and I don't know. I hate saying this because I feel like I'm talking too much about myself, but I'm not like a normal mixed martial artist. I grew up fighting in the streets, so I'm ready to fight like that. You know what I mean? A lot of guys will need hours to warm up for a fight or do what they do. I hit pads for 5-10 minutes in the back. I get my mindset for a fight, and I walk out there ready to go, man. So I'm always ready for a fight. I've had to fight for my life. You know what I mean? I've had to fight for survival, literally. So fighting another man with a referee isn't that big of a deal for me.
All right, well, Vince, I appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, we're joined by UFC welterweight Ramiz Brahimaj. Ramiz, how's it going, man?
Pretty good, brother. How you feeling?
I'm doing well. Obviously, second UFC fight. It's been a while. Obviously, I know you had to get the ear fixed, but was this a bit longer than you thought it would take for you to return?
It was a little bit. I definitely wanted to be back in action as soon as possible, but I knew that just the schedule was conflicting a little bit. So, for instance, I observed the month of Ramadan, so I had no real issues with the break. But I mean, I definitely would have loved to get back in a little bit sooner, but everything happens for a reason, so I'm not sweating it.
I just want to quickly touch on your last fight. Obviously, Max Griffin, we obviously see the streak he's on now. Can just knock everyone out, knock Carlos Condit down. That fight, it was pretty competitive until the ear. What do you kind of take away from that fight?
That absolutely belong in the UFC, 100%. But to me, that's not enough, I've always known in my heart of hearts since I started MMA that I was going to get to the UFC, and I was going to stay in the UFC. I was going to make the UFC my home 100%, and then keep going, and then one day vie for a title, right? That's every fighter's dream, and 100% that's still my dream. It's alive and well, and I'm going to make sure that I see it through and I make things happen. But, I mean, aside from that, man, I know it was a very competitive fight, a lot of back and forth in that fight. But like I said, man, I'm ready to rebound and get better from it, and really show a lot of stuff, to the fans that they've known me for, for my finishing abilities. Now I feel that those finishing abilities are both on the feet and on the ground. So I just can't wait to show the fans, who I am.
Just last thing on that, like, what was that kind of week after the fight? Is because I'm sure you saw, like, that highlight of your ear was everywhere. Like, I had friends that don't even watch MMA that were like, this was just like, this is gross. I can't believe this happened. Like, there was like, it was reaching like outside the MMA bubble.
No, yeah, it definitely did. It was pretty crazy for me too, just to digest everything that happened. Because bear in mind, man, I had I've done God knows how many competitions, grappling, my pro and amateur career, sparring sessions, wrestling sessions, you name it, that nothing's ever happened. So I tell people all the time, for me, man, that was like one of the most 2020 things that happened in 2020 to me, It was definitely crazy, but it was a learning experience for me. And it just showed me that literally anything in that cage could happen, any kind of injury, bone breaks, cuts. I mean, I saw a guy, what was it, like 2 weeks later, he lost his finger in a fight. Yeah. And I'm like, holy smokes, man. Like, dude, we have fighters, we have a pretty tough job, man.
Oh, is that like a worry, or like that it might happen again, or the doctors like stitch it all up and they don't think it's going to happen?
They definitely took care of it. I mean, the possibility for anything happening, the way that the doctor put it was the best. He said the possibility for anything happening. He said, I mean, you could have any kind of laceration or any kind of loss of eyesight, anything that could happen in a fight. He said, but I mean, the possibility will always be there, but it doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to happen.
Hey, your opponent, Sasha Palnikov, like, how much do you know about him? He had obviously a really good UFC debut against Louis Cosa, who was really hyped up. Then he got obviously submitted against Impa in his last fight.
No, he's a tough guy, man. He's a guy that I look forward to fighting. He always brings the fight, so that automatically draws my respect. But August 21st, we got business to handle, and I got a win to take. So that's what I got to do as soon as I step into that cage, August 21st.
Do you think on the outside, to a lot of fans, they're just going to view this as a grappler versus striker fight? Like, they think you're going to want to take it down, but I think your striking is underrated.
Yeah, it is underrated. I mean, man, I stood up with a guy who, I mean, believe it or not, whenever Max was walking to the cage, I was watching some of his highlights on the screen. You know how they show the fighter highlights as they're walking out. And I'm like, damn, this dude stunned Colby, dropped him. I mean, Max is one of those underrated fighters, right? He's had some very, very close and fights that really, I feel, even before the fight when I fought him, should have went his way.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit unfortunate that things happen. But yeah, man, I mean, I look at myself as a mixed martial artist. I'm not a grappler. The only time I'm a grappler is when I do grappling tournaments, right? Because I'm legitimately grappling people. But I look at myself as a mixed martial artist, in this sport, in MMA, and especially in the UFC, you can't be fully one-dimensional. You know what I mean? Even as you saw, even with Khabib and a bunch of other fighters who they come from jiu-jitsu backgrounds, they start to develop a striking game, like Gilbert Burns and all of these guys, and they start to develop pretty lethal striking, right? Where they could take care of people enough to set up their takedowns or actually put people away with their strikes. So I look at myself no differently. I'm a mixed martial artist. When I got into this sport, I mean, yeah, have a lot of finishes by submission, but it's not a knock on my style that I don't know how to strike with people. So
how do you see yourself winning? Because every single fight you win, you find the stoppage.
Man, I mean, it's tough sometimes, because you see the finish and you just take it, right? But like I said, I see myself finishing. in any way, shape, or form. Knockout, submission, ground and pound, anything. You know, I'm willing to take anything. I know the fight before I got signed in the UFC, I actually did knock my opponent out standing up, but he fell on my shoulder, woke back up. So that was a pretty interesting sequence how that happened. And I was like, dang, I could have got a one-punch knockout, but it just wasn't my time to get it then. So who knows, man? Hopefully it might come this fight.
How much pressure is on you just to get your first UFC win back in the win column and all that, or is there not any?
Nah, there's never pressure. You know, even when I fought Max for my debut, there was no pressure. I mean, for me, man, it's just I'm getting to do what I love. You know, I get to do what I absolutely love. Every day I wake up, I get to train my clients, get to be at the gym. I'm fully committed, you know, so there's no pressure. I get to go out there and anytime I've ever fought with pressure early on in my career about, oh, I got to stay undefeated, I got to do this. Bad things have always happened, you know. But whenever I realize that I don't put pressure on myself, I have great performances, man. Everybody has great performances. So there's no pressure on my end. Of course, you know, the normalities of fighting with, you know, oh yeah, I got to win, this. It's normal. It comes and goes. But as far as me really pressure myself, nah, I don't believe in that.
Your debut, like, that was obviously, you can't get much tougher unless you fight a top 15 guy in Max Herman's. Like, how much do you think that's going to prepare you for Sash? Like, no offense to Sash, but I think Max Herman's obviously a lot better than him and a better striker. So, like, you already saw that looks. I don't think it's going to be any harder than your first fight.
I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm so fortunate, man, that, you know, I got thrown right into the fire. That's exactly what I wanted. I didn't want an easy fight, especially for my debut. You know, even when I was getting ready to fight Takashi Sato in my debut, that wasn't going to be an easy fight either. Sasha's not an easy fight anyways, by no means. So the thing is fighting Max for me was such a good indicator as to that I belong here. Like I said, there's a lot of improvements. I did come from a lengthy layoff prior to that fight. Mm-hmm. So for me, my main goal is get this win August 21st and keep the train moving, right? I want to keep going. I want to keep fighting. I want to get some more matchups. And I want to stay in the UFC. I want to stay and I want to make my run in the UFC. But as far as the experience that I've taken from the Max Griffin fight, it was tremendous. It was tremendous. For me, it was absolutely tremendous. It was one of those fights that even early on in my career, I had some absolute bangers of fights, you know, in the LFA and the regional circuit. But that was definitely a fight that 100% grew me mentally, physically, in every way, shape, and form. So when people ask me, oh my God, you know, why did they give you such a hard fight, or why did you accept such a hard fight? I was like, dude, you need to take those fights. They help you grow, you know, they help you grow. They make you better in turn. And I see it in my training. I see it in everything that I do, right? So it was one of those necessities, right? It had to happen.
Well, yeah, you even look at fighters on the regional scenes that fight guys that are like 0-10, and then they get to the UFC and just get smoked. Like, you need those tough fights to even like get
I tell those guys all the time, man. It's easy, and you know it too, right?
Yeah.
Because this is what helps you. You've been watching MMA for quite some time, right? So this is the thing that I see. Unbeaten records don't always faze me. You see what I'm saying? And this is one of those things that a lot of people undermined when I fought Max. Yeah, he was on a 2-fight losing streak. But if you look at his last fight against Alex Oliveira before he started his streak, that was a very close fight. Just like his fight with Alessio when it went to split decision and a bunch of other fights that guy's had. So sometimes people, they get too caught up in the records of being undefeated. And I'll see some of these guys in the Contender Series that they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-0, but they've never fought on a televised event, right? They've never fought for like an LFA. They've never fought for like a Cage Warriors. So it's kind of hard to gauge their skill. You see what I'm saying? So at least with me, I know where I'm at. You know what I mean? I know that I didn't have it easy when I fought in LFA. I'm not going to have it easy in the UFC. And that's the thing with me is I'm always prepared for these challenges, 100%. Even in the Max Griffin fight, I was prepared for that challenge up until all that craziness happened with, I think, like 2 minutes something left on the clock in the third round, which even the third round was competitive. But like I said, it's just one of those things that it's unpredictable. You can never, if you would have asked me, hey, is your ear going to cut wide open in an MMA fight. You're like, dude, what are you smoking? Are you like, you lost your mind? So it's just one of those things, man. You can't predict it.
The smaller octagon at the apex, like, you think that impacts the fight at all?
Kind of, sort of, but my goal is the same no matter if it's a big cage, if it's a small cage. I'm always going to press the action, right? So that's what I plan on doing, man. I plan on pressing the action and going out there having fun and getting the finish, getting the win, getting my hand raised and moving my chips forward.
I know with the apex now, they're getting like a couple hundred fans. So is that at least something, or do you kind of zone out the crowd noise?
I've always zoned out the crowd, I mean, on occasion, I'll feed off the crowd, like with a good position, like top position. If I'm on top of somebody raining ground and pound, I'll get a little bit amped, but usually I try to keep it as professional as possible. I always hear my corners. So, I mean, I usually try to zone out the fans, because if you get too caught up in the moment, you'll lose yourself, and then you could lose the fight as well, right? So to me, it doesn't matter.
It's pretty hard not to hear Safe, though. That guy, like, when COVID first hit, like when all the gyms were closed, I got him to send me like just a home workout thing and like a meal thing, and I'm like, this is insane. Like, this guy just put me through everything.
Oh yeah, he does, and he does the same thing to us in training. So I mean, people tell me all the time they're just now starting to hear how intense Coach is at the apex, right? But I tell people, I'm like, man, he's always had this about him since we were fighting regionally, since we were fighting, like, we had guys fighting in the biggest freaking events, biggest arenas in the UFC. He's always been intense, man. He's always, and that's a style that I grew up with, and that's a style that I love. And until the day I stop fighting, I definitely want to have him as my chief corner.
Oh, even like he was checking up on me like every 2 weeks, seeing if I was losing weight and stuff. And like I went from like 170 to like 159. He's like, you got hit 155. You got hit one, and he just like I'm not even your fighter, and this guy's pushing me.
Oh yeah, man. He definitely cares a lot about people, and he cares a lot about people's progression too. So he's one of those dudes. I've never seen him half-ass anything.
Who are the main guys you're working with? Because obviously a lot of high-level bodies at Fortis.
Oh man, oof. Tell me about it. I mean, I'm freaking beat up from last night. I still got rounds tonight, right? So I've been working, of course, my longtime stablemate Jeff Neal. I love working with that dude. He's been my ace, my guy. I've been his guy too for a lot of camps. So Jeff Neal, been working a lot with Alex Morono as well. He's been coming in every week. Sadawad, Abdul Karim El Sawadi. I've been working with Alonzo as well. Alonzo Menafield. He fights November 7th against
Ed Herman.
Ed Herman, yeah, it's a good fight. And those have been my main sparring partners. And another guy who's actually up and coming, Julius Holmes. Very, very strong welterweight, fights welterweight 185. He's even fought 205. So man, I get the best. I don't say the best of both worlds. I get the best of both of three worlds, man.
Just a couple more things. Like, I assume you want to stay pretty active, like get a quick turnaround if you win here, just because the long layoffs you kind of had lately.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for me, of course, first and foremost, I will never overlook any opponent or any fight ever in my career, because it could be your last, or it could be just like a friggin' costly mistake, right? So for me personally, I definitely want to handle business August 21st, take care of this guy, take care of the win, come home, probably take just about a week and a half off. And I know that they have a card in Abu Dhabi. Either
October 30th.
Abu Dhabi or either MSG, man. I get to go see my family back in New York City in the Bronx and get to celebrate another win, close the year out with at least 2 wins. If I can get a third fight, man, that would be amazing. But of course, I don't want to get too greedy. I want to take things one step at a time.
Just last thing, I know you're not a guy to really call anyone else. At this point in your career, is it just like whoever the UFC gives you and just trying to build up that winning streak?
Yeah, 100%. The reality is, man, I listen, I have full faith in my skill set. I have full faith in everything that I do. I trust the process. I trust the journey. But the reality is right now, I'm in no standing to call anybody out. Yeah. So reality is I handle business August 21st, get another win. If the UFC decides that maybe after my second win in the UFC, I'm 2-1 with the promotion, I re-sign a new contract, then we could start talking about other opponents. But as far as that goes, right now, I'm just looking to take people out, right? That's it. I start taking people out, I'm going to get noticed. I'm going to work my way up through the rankings and everything like that. But until then, man, it's kind of pointless, right? I'm coming off of an L. I got to handle business August 21st. Once I get on a nice little streak, then I could start talking, right? Then you could peacock around a little bit. But until then, man, I haven't done much. So I just got to get this win, get a couple more wins under my belt, get on a good streak, and I'm going to make sure people know who I am.
All right, well, Ramiz, I appreciate the time as always. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it. Take care.